In this video, this is for section 0.4, and this is going to be using the diagrams we've been working with already in this module, using multiple representations to find probabilities and values. The learning target for this is going to be to use multiple displays for a data set to determine missing values. So we've learned so far this module like notation and getting probability, Venn diagrams, two-way frequency tables, tree diagrams, and now we're going to see a scenario where we're given different values within these diagrams, and we have to use that almost as a puzzle to finish and find all the values that are missing. So we're only going to look at this one example because it has a lot of layers going on here, and it's similar to one you could potentially see on like a test or a quiz, and it really applies all the concepts that we've done in this module. So you're going to see that there's like a Venn diagram, a tree diagram, a two-way frequency table, a percentage may be given, and your job would be to show your work and try to fill in all of these values that are missing for each of these diagrams. Lots of different ways that you can do this. I would probably say though, if you're still struggling a little bit with the material, I would kind of live within this two-way frequency table, and then you can always use this to go back to the table and then use the information to fill in the other diagrams. But there's multiple ways that you can go about solving these problems. So there's not one way that's right or wrong. I would suggest though, if you're having a really tough time kind of living within this two-way frequency table, so working to fill something in that table and then using that table to help fill in other values. And that's what I'm going to do for this example, but again, multiple ways to do it. So the first thing is we have that in this table, they give us there's 300 people represented, and the categories we're looking at are male and female, and we broke them up into Sox and Cubs fans. So there's 300 people represented, so that's our sample size. I already was able to use that. And then I'm just going to kind of pull this different data here that we have here. So for example, it says C is Cubs, W is White Sox, and then male and female. 30%, the probability of C is 30%, so that's 0.3. And if there are 300 people, we can multiply that. There we go. We can multiply that to find out how many of those people are Cubs fans, right? So if 30% of the 300 is Cubs fans, what actual value is that? So if I do 300 times 0.3, I'm going to get 90 people. So of this data that's represented, 90 of them are Cubs fans. We also know that if I'm only breaking people into two type of fans, right? We're not putting Cardinal fans or Brewer fans or anything else, Tiger fans, and nothing else in there. So if I have that this is adding up to 300, if I subtract, I can get that the number of White Sox fans that were polled in this was 210. Now from here, we can kind of look to see what else do we have in these diagrams. So we also see here a Venn diagram. This Venn diagram is comparing Cubs and female. And this is the intersection of both. So you can see that it doesn't talk about like the opposite of this would be male White Sox fans. So that would probably be somewhere out here. And so we have 85 females that are not Cubs fans. Right, so all the females would live here. So of the females, these would be Cubs fans, these would be White Sox fans. So there's 85 female White Sox fans. That's what basically this is trying to tell me. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my frequency table and put that in. Right, because if they're female, they either have to be a Cubs or a Sox fan, and if they're outside the intersection, they have to be White Sox. So this is 210, I got 85. So when I go ahead and subtract that off, we're going to get our 125. So there's 125 male White Sox fans. And then now I'm going to go to my tree diagram and see if there's anything else I can pull. So I also have here that this is my male like this 55. So of males, 55 are Cubs fans. So there's 55 males that are also Cubs fans. So I'm going to put 55 right here. And now I can fill in the rest of this table. So if I add a cross, I get 180. If I do any addition or subtraction, I get 120 and 35. So we were able to kind of fill all of that table in, and now we can use that table to fill in everything else that we need. So if I'm looking for the probability that they're a male, given that they're a Cubs fan, well, there are 90 Cubs fans, so that's going to go on the bottom. And of those 90 Cubs fans, 55 are male. And then we would get a 0.611. And then we can kind of just fill in the rest like we normally would. So what's the probability they're a Cubs fan and they're a male? So that would be 55 out of the entire sample, which is 300. And so that would be 0.183. This one's the probability they're a White Sox fan or a male. So that would be White Sox fans is 210, males 180. But then I want to make sure I don't count this 125 twice. I'm really just kind of adding these right here. So that would be 265 over 300. And then the last one that's in that, like the part that's listed, what's the probability they're a woman given, or not woman, a White Sox fan, given that they're female, right? So the number of females was 120. And of the 120, 85 were White Sox fans. So 85 over 120 and 0.708 or 70.8%. And then what you want to make sure on the test or the quiz is if you're given a problem like this, you also have to fill in the diagram. So it's not even just all the stuff that's listed. I need to fill out my Venn diagram, and I need to and the Venn diagram is the one that's a little tricky because you got to it may not be marked there, but we got to fill in the intersection, the circle, and then what's maybe outside the circle. So for the Venn diagram, we're looking for the number of Cubs fans that are also female. So female Cubs fans would be 35. Cubs fans that are not female because they didn't fall in there, that would be basically male Cub fans, so that would be 55. And then outside would be that if they're not Cubs fans and they're not female, right? So if they're in this chart, if they're not female, we're considering them as male. And if they're not Cubs fans, we're considering them as White Sox fans. So that would be 125. And then the table, you would do the same thing. So our males, there's 180. Female 120. And then of the males, 125 are Sox fans. And then of the females, 85 are Sox fans. And 35 are Cubs fans. Okay, so the hard part is you almost have to work backwards a little bit, but once you if you're struggling, once you fill in that two-way frequency table, you could fill in the rest of the values there. If you have any questions, feel free to sign up for T-Bowl time, the center, or ask for help during class. Thank you.